Okay, before you guys all start commenting on why the title of this video might be bullshit, let me make one thing perfectly clear. I agree, Dragon Ball GT kinda sucks. As the continuation of one of the most popular animated series of all time, Dragon Ball GT was such a disappointment and letdown to the follow-up of Dragon Ball Z. The characters are completely changed around, the story gets completely absurd, the tone is all over the place, hell, even creator Akira Toriyama had literally nothing to do with it. Hence why he decided to create Dragon Ball Super some 20 years later. But while I am more of a fan of Dragon Ball Z and didn't really watch the show much as a teenager, as well as a lot of people complaining of how much it sucks, I do kinda have to admit there are a few good elements in this show. I mean, for starters, the opening is actually kinda cool.
Step into the grand tour. Step into the grand tour. Dragon Ball GT.
Not that one. I'm of course talking about the song Dan Dan. It has very much a magical and mystical quality to it, and is actually kind of a charming song. Dub decided to use this song for the English version of the opening, which I will admit is probably the best English opening to Dragon Ball GT. Show credit, it is a continuation of Dragon Ball Z and actually has a few moments where some characters are able to develop more. And while the show does have its problems, a lot of people like some of the new characters, including Goku's granddaughter Pan, who has gained more of a cult following throughout the years. Hell, even some of the villains are pretty creative, including Dr. Mew, Baby, and even the dragons that exist in the 7 Dragon Balls. However, while most people think the entire series sucks, there is one story arc that is actually pretty damn good. Now you're probably wondering what that arc could possibly be. Is it the space adventures to find the Black Star Dragon Balls? No. Is it the Baby arc? No. Is it the Dragon arc? No. Well, to be honest guys, in my opinion, the best arc in Dragon Ball GT has to go to the Super 17 arc. Now I know what you're all thinking. What, that whole arc that was nothing but fan service? Well, actually, yeah. It does have a lot of fan service, but it does have a decent story, some great action scenes, and some of the characters that have been kind of pushed to the side actually get really good moments to shine. But of course, to get acquainted with this arc, I have to talk about the plot. Taking place after the defeat of Baby and the rise of Goku's Super Saiyan 4 transformation, Earth celebrates with a grand martial arts tournament as Goku competes in the juniors division, while some hilarious slapstick antics happen in the background. All might seem peaceful for the moment until we cut to the depths of hell as Dr. Mew forms an alliance with Dr. Gero, head of the Red Ribbon Army, to create a portal in which Hell and Earth will combine worlds, bringing back a vast variety of villains, while Dr. Gero and Dr. Mew create 2 Android 17s to combine together to create Super 17, the ultimate android to destroy Goku, the Z-Fighters, and conquer the world. As you can tell, the plot is kinda standard and kinda generic, but there are a few great elements in this arc. I'd say the first thing I should talk about, obviously, is the fan service in terms of the returning villains. It was actually kinda interesting to see Dr. Gero come back and have Dr. Mew be an appropriate alliance between the two, but it was also great to get some amazing cameos from some past villains that were sadly underrated. You got the Cybermen, some of the Red Ribbon Army, a lot of Frieza's men in the Ginyu Force, Android 19, hell, some of the characters from the movies, which kinda don't really make any sense since those movies are hard to put into the canon storyline. But that was Dragon Ball GT for you, giving you tons of fan service, but not really giving a shit about its continuity. But there were 2 villain moments that definitely stand out in this arc. First off, Goku actually enters Hell and battles 2 of his greatest foes, Frieza, the Galactic Emperor, and the perfect android Cell, who have joined forces and trapped Goku in order to destroy him. This was a great moment to have 2 of the series' greatest villains come together to fight Goku in a 2-on-1 match. And since they're equally matched and have a pretty good battle with Goku, especially since he's been turned to a kid at this point, they do actually have a couple of moments where they actually have new techniques to show off what they've been doing in the depths of Hell. And even the banter is absolutely great. And it's also great to see the original English voice actors come back to reprise their roles for one final bow. And of course, do I even need to mention the Nappa cameo? This scene is considered one of the best moments in Dragon Ball GT just for how silly it is. And considering how Team 4-Star has basically turned Nappa into one of the most iconic characters in the series, it is kind of pathetic, but it's also kind of fun to see him again. And of course, the best returning villain is the big boss himself with Android 17. And I've got to be honest, it was kind of nice to see the guy again, especially since we haven't seen him since the end of the Cell saga. I mean, yeah, he makes a cameo in the Boo saga, but there was so much potential with this character. And guys, I know, Dragon Ball Super is Akira Toriyama's definitive future series, and the continuing story of Android 17 is in good hands. But again, this arc was actually kind of a nice move to not only return him to the series, but also make him a threatening villain. I mean, even in the Android saga, 17 was kind of a brat most of the time. Here, he's actually quite the menace, like an unstoppable force of nature that can't be controlled. Hell, that's one of the reasons this arc works so well. While 17 is made to be a cold-blooded killer in this arc, he does show some real sympathy at the fact that he doesn't want to be controlled. Yet in some areas, he has no choice, and his anger and rage have corrupted his mind. It's kind of a real tragedy for him. And not only that, we get two Android 17s, one created by Dr. Mew and Dr. Gero, and the other is the original 17. And it is kind of hard to tell which one's the real one, but both are easily being controlled and combined into Super 17, which is basically him injecting himself with a shit ton of steroids. And my god, this design is actually kind of badass. He even gives Goku and the Z Fighters a run for their money, and he actually ends up kicking Goku's ass by the end of it. But you guys have probably guessed why I love this arc the most. And honestly, it's because of the ending. Because it's not Goku who saves the day, nor Vegeta, nor Gohan, nor any of the Z Fighters. No, the character that ends up saving the day is none other than my favorite character of the series, Android 18. And my god, was it satisfying to see her kick some ass again. Even though she had her moments to shine in the Boo saga, half the time she's been put back to being a side character. And yeah, I get it, she's kind of settled down given she's married Krillin and had a kid with him, but even then they had so much more potential to go more into her story and make her more of an interesting character. And this arc of GT not only gave us more to look forward to with her character, but in some regards it kind of wraps her story up. Okay, to get in a little bit of details, one of the 17s hunts down 18, tries to convince her to join the forces of evil, Krillin holds her back, and 17 ends up killing Krillin for the 27,000th time, I guess. Oh my god, they killed Krillin!
You bastards!
So of course, with the death of her husband, Android 18 is pissed off. And she doesn't give a fuck that that's her brother. She's willing to kill him out of sheer anger and revenge. You can just feel the pain and suffering she's feeling knowing that her one love was straight up murdered by her own brother. It's actually really sad and dramatic. But it doesn't end there. 17, from the looks of it, also kills her daughter, which is double the blow. And the last thing we see of her before the finale is her crawling to her dead husband, almost as if she's giving her last strength just to be with him. When I first saw this, I actually thought she died, and my heart absolutely sank. But as I continued to watch the series and watched Goku and 17 fight, and seeing that 17 had him pinned down and cornered, who else shows up but 18 to deliver the final blow? And yeah, I know she's technically not strong enough to combat him, but she's willing to stand with two of the greatest fighters on the planet at that point, just to confront her brother and not only attempt to kill him, but also try to see that there's some good in him. Which unfortunately, from the argument they have, it doesn't look like there's much left in him to become a good character. And knowing her decision to basically destroy her own brother, she does accept the challenge of wanting to fight him. You gotta remember that 18, while she is a very strong combatant, she's a real tough-edged woman who could kick the shit out of you if you even glance at her the wrong way. So seeing her really give her all in this scene is really rewarding. And I know technically Goku does deliver the final blow, but I don't think Goku would be able to kill 17 if Android 18 didn't interfere. But overall, the ending is quite satisfying. And while it does leave off for a cliffhanger for the next arc, there's a real emotional scene at the end of it, where Goku and 18 have a really nice heartfelt talk with each other. 18 the whole time was incredibly emotional and only cared about killing her brother, but Goku pulled her back and told her that there's still good in him. And to 18, that's a real emotional moment for her. But on top of that, the way it's set up, her character arc is pretty much finished. And it ends so perfectly that you could totally see this as this character's final bow. I mean, at this point, the chapter is finally closed on this character, and it's actually kind of a satisfying conclusion for her. But unfortunately, that's had to change since Dragon Ball Super entered the picture. I mean, yeah, it's good to see Akira Toriyama creating a new series for the fans, but given that Dragon Ball GT is no longer in canon with the universe, this technically does kind of ruin the impact that this character had in her final scene. And again, she's been pushed back to being a side character. Okay, now give credit where credit is due. She is joining the Universe 7 arc with her brother, which is really cool, but hopefully she will have another great moment to shine and show her true colors as one of the best characters in the series. And on top of that, it's actually kind of nice to see the original actress Meredith McCoy coming back to do the voice again, since Colin Clinkenbeard, who also voices Ender Mocha in Rosario Vampire, took over the role for Dragon Ball Z Kai, which while she did a pretty decent job in passing the torch, it really didn't have the same impact that Meredith put into it. And overall, guys, while Dragon Ball GT does kind of suck and it's no longer in canon at this point, if you're gonna watch one arc from the series, I would highly recommend the Super 17 arc. It's got some decent fan service, some great returning villains, a pretty threatening antagonist, some sympathy for said antagonist, some great action scenes, and has a pretty decent closing chapter to my favorite character in the series. And honestly, I haven't watched really anything of GT besides this arc, and given how most fans have responded to the series, it's probably for the best. And there you have it, folks, my opinion on what's the best arc in Dragon Ball GT. Agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments section below, along with your favorite arc in the Dragon Ball storyline. So, until the next video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms, signing off.